Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reviewing the new Civivi Triptych. This is, I would call it a medium sized knife, not too big. I can still get a nice 4-finger grip on it. It's coming in at 6.93 inches overall. It has a 2.97 inch compound ground drop point blade, as you can see here. So being that it's under the 3-inch mark, it's going to be legal in all areas with 3 and under blade laws. It's cool seeing these compound ground blades on, sub $100 knives, because that's usually stuff you see on higher dollar knives, because that's two separate grinding processes, being that you have a hollow grind here, flat grind up here in the tip. Got a nice satin finish on this one, and you got a low tip drop point. So this is gonna be a very versatile blade. You can easily use the tip. It's gonna be in the center line if you had to pierce into a bag of potato chips. In-hand cuts are gonna be good. As long as you don't fall into this choil area, it's gonna be good because your belly is not too crazy going up to that tip. Flat cutting surface, of course, is gonna be great also. You have a small row of jimping there. It is functional jimping. However, sitting back here doesn't feel too natural. I'm either sit here or in the hammer grip. Doesn't bother me any, but if you're a jimping guy, that might bug you. You have a needle-like tip there. That's gonna make piercing even better. You have a swedge up here that's just for flare, and I think it looks really sweet with all the different grinds there. And the blade steel on this one is Sandvik 14C 28N, one of my favorite budget steels. It's super easy to sharpen. It's very, very tough. It's got great corrosion resistance, and I think it holds a respectable edge at its price point. You have a sharpening choil, and being that that's in the hollow grind section, you're gonna have all this sharpening light. Let's see, it thickens up to about right here. You're gonna have all that before you have to worry about that widening on you. As long as you don't put a lot of pressure there, you're gonna be good all the way to about right there. And of course, in typical Civivi fashion, this hollow ground section is nice and thin at around 13 thousandths behind the edge, and then it creeps up just a little bit in this flat ground portion, but still nice and thin at around 16 thousandths behind the edge. So as long as it's got a nice sharp edge, this one should be a great slicer, and we're gonna find out. Yeah, just as I expected, this thing was a slicing machine, especially in this hollow ground section. It was unbelievably slicey. It was a joy to test, and like I said, I don't know what happened to that one section of video, but it did great there. That's all I can say there. Let's talk about the deployment in action real quick. So you have a flipper tab with some jimps there. It's about middle ways of that pivot, but you still get a nice positive flip. You can also do a push button, build up some momentum, and get a little bit harder of a flip, but not that much. But the light switch is my preferred means. It's the most comfortable. Then you also have those thumb studs that are nice and comfortable. You can reverse flick them. You can slow roll it. Thumb flick is probably the best and the snappiest. It is riding on cage shrunk ball bearings, giving it a nice fall shut action once you release that button. And like I said, this is a button lock, so if you want to deploy it with that button, you could as well. And as far as the button lock, you do get a very light stick, but it's the type of stick that I like. It lets me know that this lock is engaged. Let me let you listen to that. So nothing that's hurting my thumb or anything. That's where I kind of draw the line of stick to where I can barely unlock it. But this one is just an audible click there. Just give me that confidence that this thing's not going to fold on me. And of all the button lock knives I've ever had, I've never had a Civivi button lock fail on me. I spine whacked every single one of them, and they've all been good. We'll do it in a little bit when we talk about the lock. So let's close it up, take a look at the handle area. I have this ivory G10. It's like a peel ply, but it's not a super aggressive peel ply. I find it to be perfect. I don't like to have super aggressive G10. It just messes with my neuropathy, and this right here is perfect for me. I will say, if you do decide to get the ivory version, you're going to have, if you want to keep it looking like this, you're going to have to clean it with some rubbing alcohol or soap and water or a magic eraser quite often, anytime you use it, because just your hand oils is going to make this look bad. I cleaned mine up right before the video because whenever I had those gloves on during the testing, it turns these almost like bluish color. I don't really care too much, but you know, for a review, I don't want to make it look like trash. So you have speed holes here. You have these 3 little milled lines there. You got a nice chamfer and softening going all the way around the edges of these scales. No sharp areas where you don't want to be, and they're very ever so slightly shadow boxed to the stainless steel liners, just meaning that the stainless steel liners do sit a little proud, a little bit wider than the G10. However, Civivi does a great job of rounding over those liners, so it's not uncomfortable. You don't even notice that's there. I don't notice it's there anytime I do the testing, so if I don't feel it, you're definitely not going to feel it. Your scales are flat, but you know, for my medium-sized hands, I thought it was nice and comfortable. Now, I just get a 4-finger grip, so if you have large x large hands, it's probably gonna be a little small for you. You have that same milling on the opposite side. You do have a deep carry clip. It isn't inset into the G10. However, it is kind of rounded over there in the front. They did countersink those screws, and I had no issues with it getting hung up. I'm glad they put the tension spot in between those holes so you wouldn't get hung up in those speed holes when trying to get it in and out of the pocket. I had no issues there. And it is a reversible clip, so they are thinking about the lefties here. You have stainless steel liners, 2 hourglass standoffs in the back right here, and then these 2 are for lanyard. If you're a lanyard guy, instead of having the actual hole, you can tie a lanyard to that. That'll keep it from going down that direction. For me, the hammer grip and the saber grip were the most comfortable. I didn't feel the pocket clip for my hand grip, at least. You can do this reverse pull grip like this. You will feel this a little bit. However, they did round that over, but you do have those jumps there. So, you know, if you did this for a while, it might start to bug you. And I can do the reverse gas station knife fight grip. It is rounded over there, but it is pretty crammed in there. Not a grip I'd be doing with this knife anyway, but if you want to stick it into some wood to do some feather sticks, you could definitely do that. As you can see, those liners are pocketed out even wider than the actual speed holes to help balance this knife out and to bring down the weight as much as they possibly could. Bringing the weight to 3.4 ounces, I'm perfectly good with that. Your button lock has a nice little recess spot there just so you don't accidentally disengage it. You'd have to press it past that spot to disengage this lock. And like I said in the beginning, I've never had a Civivi button lock fail on me, and I spine whacked every single one of them. Nice and tight lockup, and it's because they get a good bit of engagement there. The geometry is done right on the plunger, and when it's locked up, as far as movement goes, I have no movement up or down, left or right, and that's exactly what you want to see. Now time for some size comparisons. As you can see, it's a good bit smaller than the Ontario Rat 1, and even though it's smaller than the Rat 2, it has about the same cutting edge as the Rat 2. And it's also just a hair shorter than the Civivi X-Zone and the QSP Penguin. And lastly, it's a little shorter than the Civivi Cubit and the Kaiser Drop Bear. And it's just a hair, a hair shorter than the Civivi Elementum 2 button lock, and it's a little longer than the Civivi Mini Praxis. Now, we all know no knife's perfect. What are my nitpicks and complaints? If you're gonna put jimping, make it a little bit finer cut, just so it's a little bit more effective. However, like I said, this one is such a small row of jimping, it feels a little awkward back here. That leads me to my next thing. I wish they would have made this handle just a little bit longer so it could fit more people's hands. Even my medium-sized hands, I feel kind of cramped up here. However, those aren't really deal breakers for me. And I think last thing, it would have been nice if they would have inset that clip into the G10, but like I said earlier, they did a nice job around that over. I haven't had an issue of anything getting hung up in there, so it's just a very minor nitpick. And being nitpicky, it'd be nice to have those screws T8 like the rest of the knife. However, you don't have to remove that clip to take apart this knife, so that's just a very minor gripe. So what are my final thoughts on the new Civivi Triptych? I think it's a good looking knife. Love the versatility in this blade. I'm a fan of the compound grinds whenever they're done like this, where you do have a thinner section and then a thicker section to do a little bit harder work. I could take it or leave it. I think they look nice in certain situations. I think this is one of those situations, especially for a knife that comes in at $65. I thought the knife was comfortable in all the grips that I hold it in. Of course, I think it has good action. Now, is it Civivi's snappiest action? No, I don't think so. It's definitely perfectly acceptable for me. I can do all the things that I like to do. Button lock is nice and secure, nice and smooth. And like I said, overall, I think it's a good looking knife. If you're into the medium size or medium sized knives, then you might be into this one. Especially if nothing I talked about was a deal breaker for you, then yes, I can highly recommend the Civivi Triptych. If you are interested in this one and you want to help support the channel, you can use my links that will be down below. I'll also have the links for all the new WE knives and Ascend Cut knives. So that's going to wrap up today's video on the Civivi Triptych. Love to hear y'all thoughts. Do y'all like compound grinds? Can you take them, leave them? What do you think about this one? And if you have any questions in particular about the Civivi Triptych, feel free to ask me down below and I'll do my best to get back with you. I hope every single one of y'all is having a fantastic day today. And remember, keep these blades sharp, smile more. Peace!